The void beyond the scout vessel Eos was as silent and empty as the legend said. For centuries, the Zarnathi Empire had ruled vast stretches of space, their fleets cutting through the darkness with ruthless efficiency. They had long accepted the story told by ancient star charts and forgotten archives. Humanity, the first to touch the stars from the lost cradle of Earth, had been snuffed out during the collapse of Sol. A relic species, gone before the empires. Rise. But now, a faint pulse, a whisper, had shattered that certainty. Lieutenant Captain Kira Voss stared at the console, her fingers steady despite the surge of adrenaline coursing through her veins. The signal was repeating, an erratic beacon buried beneath layers of cosmic noise. It wasn't a natural phenomenon. It carried a signature. Biological. Human. Lieutenant, are you certain? Commander Rallick's voice crackled through the comm panel. The fleet admiral's tone was skeptical but edged with curiosity. The archives say, no humans remain in this sector. We triple-checked, Kira replied. This is definitely a human biosignature, Commander. Origin, Solus 7, the dead world on the edge of the Helix expanse. The Eos was dispatched to investigate, a fast scout vessel, armed lightly, but equipped with the most advanced scanners the Empire could muster. The crew of 24 bore the weight of history and duty, eager but cautious. Solus 7's surface was a barren desert of ice and rock, dead for thousands of years by all outward signs. Its atmosphere was thin and poisonous, the landscape scarred by tectonic upheavals and ancient impacts. The planet's cold surface held no promise, until now. Descending through the haze, Kira's eyes narrowed as readings flooded in. Beneath, the crust lay structures, immense tunnels and cavities brimming with life support systems. The city was hidden, buried beneath layers of ice and rock. This was no forgotten ruin. It was alive. The Eos landed near a fissure glowing with faint blue light. The crew disembarked in armored suits, their boots crunching on frozen soil. Kira led the advance team toward the entrance, scanning for signs of life. A low hum thrummed. Through the tunnels, mechanical yet organic like the breath of the world itself. Strange glyphs decorated the walls, some familiar, others utterly alien, etched in a language that felt eerily human but twisted by centuries of isolation. Suddenly, the ground beneath them trembled. Seismic activity? A technician whispered. Kira shook her head. No, something else. Then the lights flickered and plunged the group into darkness. Emergency power now, Kira barked. Torches flickered on, but the darkness was thick, oppressive. The air smelled faintly of ozone and something metallic. From the shadows, movement. A figure stepped forward. Tall, lean, clad in armor that seemed to blend with the environment. The face beneath the helmet was unmistakably human. Sharp cheekbones, pale eyes that gleamed with intelligence and wariness. Who are you? Kira demanded, raising her weapon. The figure raised a hand, signaling peace. We are the Continuum, the voice echoed through the chamber, calm but firm. Descendants of those who fled the collapse. We have lived in the shadows while the galaxy forgot us. Kira's mind raced. This was no isolated tribe, this was a civilization, hidden but thriving. Why reveal yourselves now? She asked. The figure's eyes darkened. Because the past is stirring, and the Empire is not. The only power rising. Suddenly the tunnels shook violently. The walls groaned as if the planet itself was awakening. Get back to the ship, Kira shouted. We need to. A pulse of energy blasted through the chamber, knocking the team off their feet. Systems failed. Communications went silent. Inni. The last moments before the Eos went dark, Kira's voice was heard across Imperial space. They're not extinct, and they're not alone. The Empire's vast halls echoed with disbelief when the signal was decoded. Humanity was alive, and the universe would never be the same. The Eos never returned. Weeks passed with no communication. The Imperial High Command, unnerved by silence, dispatched the Aegis, a heavily armed reconnaissance vessel, to Solus 7. Aboard the Aegis, Captain Raleigh sat rigid in the command chair, his eyes fixed on the slowly unfolding holographic map of the planet's crust. He had sent his best team to find the Eos, and now it was his turn to see what lay beneath the frozen surface. Sensors show extensive subterranean architecture, reported Lieutenant Mira Thal, the ship's chief science officer. Massive tunnel systems, interconnected chambers spanning kilometers, energy readings consistent with life support, though the power source is unlike anything cataloged in Imperial databases. Raleigh leaned forward. The Continuum, he murmured. The name had spread through the fleet like wildfire, whispered with a mix of fear and fascination. The Aegis descended through the planet's ice, its hull shimmering as layers of adaptive shielding cut through the storms below. When they breached the surface, they found the entrance to the city, a massive, circular hatch embedded in the ice, covered with strange symbols that pulsed faintly in iridescent light. Raleigh's team disembarked in state-of-the-art environmental suits, each equipped with neural interfaces to interact with unknown technology. As they entered the hatch, the air pressure stabilized. The city was a living thing. Walls breathed with slow, rhythmic expansions, as if the entire structure was a single organism. Pipes and conduits resembled veins, carrying a luminescent fluid that pulsed in synchronization with a deep, omnipresent hum. The atmosphere smelled faintly metallic, but carried the faint scent of earth and growing things, impossible beneath. Kilometers of ice. Fascinating, Thal whispered, scanning a massive console. This tech is a hybrid, biomechanical and synthetic. It's like they merged living cells with machinery to create the infrastructure itself. They walked deeper into the city, encountering rooms filled with ancient Terran artifacts, books, data crystals, and holographic projectors, intermixed with technologies no one had ever seen. Panels displayed shifting star charts, molecular structures, and cryptic mathematical formulas that defied known physics. Suddenly, a group of humans emerged from the shadows. They looked human, but their features bore the marks of adaptation. Their skin was paler, almost translucent, their eyes larger and iridescent, reflecting the glow of the city's inner light. They moved with precise, deliberate grace. Leading them was a woman in her 40s, with silver-streaked black hair pulled back tightly and piercing green eyes that seemed to assess every detail with cool calculation. "I am Dr. Sarah Juno," she said, voice calm but resolute. "Welcome to the Continuum." Raleigh stepped forward, hand raised in a gesture of peace. "We come in search of understanding. We seek dialogue, not conquest." Sarah's gaze swept over the Imperial soldiers. "You bring weapons to a sanctuary. Know this, the Continuum does not wish for war, but we will defend ourselves with everything we have." One of the Continuum glanced toward a nearby chamber and gestured. "Come," Sarah said. "There is much to show you." They entered a vast hall where walls shimmered with living data streams, holograms of Earth, its continents shifting as if alive. Sarah explained that these were the Continuum's memory archives, a living record of their history and knowledge. "Survived the collapse by retreating beneath the Earth's crust," she said. "Our ancestors built this city using recovered technology and adapted biological systems. Over centuries, we evolved both body and mind, integrating with the city itself. This is our home, our legacy." Raleigh's eyes narrowed as he observed. A giant machine at the hall's center, a crystalline structure radiating soft blue light. "What is that?" he asked. "The heart," Sarah replied. "It regulates the city's life systems, balances energy flow, and sustains our existence. It is a symbiosis of human ingenuity and the planet's natural forces." As the Aegis team explored, one engineer, Corporal Leon Voss, lingered near a console etched with star maps. "Commander," Leon said quietly, "these coordinates, they're star systems that vanished from Imperial charts centuries ago. Lost colonies, forgotten battles." "Lost," Sarah confirmed. "The Empire's history is written without the knowledge of our survival. We are the forgotten ascendants." Suddenly, Alarms blared throughout the city. The walls trembled. Lights flickered. An external force is approaching, Sarah said, voice tight. We must prepare. Rollick's team scrambled to defensive positions as bioluminescent panels darkened. The pulse of the city quickened, as if the living structure itself was bracing for conflict. Kira Voss, lieutenant captain of the Lost Eos, appeared suddenly among the continuum, unharmed but changed. We've been waiting for you, she said, her eyes filled with a mixture of relief and warning. The Empire is not ready for what lies beneath Solus 7. Rollick exchanged a look with Sarah. The peaceful exploration had turned into something far more dangerous. The city breathed around, them alive, watchful, and ready. The Imperial Palace on Virex was a hive of urgent whispers and sharp glances. News of the Continuum's rediscovery swept through the capital like wildfire, igniting old fears and new hopes alike. The High Council convened in the glass-walled chamber that overlooked the city's sprawling skyline, its members clad in the ornate regalia of power. At the center of the chamber stood Chancellor Merrick Voss, his pale eyes narrowing as he listened to the briefing from Admiral Rollick. The scout commander's voice was steady, but the implications of the lost human civilization were anything but simple. Continuum technology defies every model in our archives, Rollick reported. Biomechanical infrastructure, matter manipulation, on molecular scales. They have advanced far beyond what we expected from a society isolated for centuries. Counselor Yalix, an elderly strategist, leaned forward. This changes everything. Humanity was always considered extinct, a cautionary tale. Now they're alive and thriving, hidden beneath a dead world. What if they seek to reclaim their place? Or worse, interjected Counselor Rethan. What if they see the Empire as the oppressor that abandoned them and rise against us with vengeance? A murmur rippled through the chamber. The Zarnathi Empire prided itself on order and control, but the existence of a resurgent human civilization threatened to unravel that carefully woven tapestry. Meanwhile, in a quiet alcove, an Imperial historian named Selandale reviewed recovered data from the EOS's last transmission. Flickering holograms showed images of ruins, cryptic symbols, and something far more disturbing. A fragment of an ancient war, played out in ghostly echoes of light and sound. Seeland's voice was barely above a whisper as she shared her discovery with a trusted aide. This isn't just survival, she said. It's transformation. Humanity's final war wasn't a defeat. It was a rebirth. They didn't perish. They evolved. Back on Solus 7, deep within the subterranean city, Dr. Sarah Juno stood before a vast holographic display. The swirling images reflecting in her eyes, she addressed the Continuum's council, a group of elders and scientists who guided the hidden civilization. The Empire stirs, she said gravely. Their fleets circle our world, seeking control. We must prepare, not only to defend ourselves, but to send a message across the stars. Humanity has risen anew. One of the elders, a stoic man named Erix, frowned. Their armies are vast, our people are few. How can we hope to survive their wrath? Sarah's gaze hardened. Not by matching their weapons, by changing the rules of engagement. Our strength lies in resilience and adaptation, in the silent war we have fought since the collapse. The Empire believes they know humanity, but they know only myths. As diplomatic envoys scrambled to draft responses, an unexpected visitor arrived in the Imperial capital, Lieutenant Captain Kira Voss, survivor of the EOS mission, and rumored lost beneath Solus 7. Her return sent shockwaves through the court. Kira's presence was both proof and warning. Her accounts of the Continuum's technology, their society, and their philosophy unsettled many. She spoke of a people who integrated with their environment, who wielded power not through conquest, but through unity and innovation. In a private meeting with Chancellor Voss, Kira was direct. They do not want the Empire's protection, she warned. They want independence. They remember the abandonment, the destruction of Earth, and the silence that followed. They have no intention of returning to the fold of any empire that once left them for dead. Chancellor Voss's expression was unreadable. And yet, he said slowly, the Continuum's knowledge could tip the balance of power in this sector. If we can bring them into the Empire's embrace, willing or not, the future of our dominion is secure. Kira shook her head. You underestimate them. They are not a prize to be won. They are a reckoning. Across the galaxy, word of humanity's rebirth spread through whispered rumors and encrypted messages. Fringe colonies and oppressed worlds saw hope in the Continuum's defiant existence. A symbol that even the mightiest empires could crumble, and lost species could rise again. In the shadowed corridors of power, factions formed. Some called for immediate negotiation, hoping to integrate the Continuum peacefully. Others advocated for preemptive strikes to eliminate a threat before it grew. Amidst the growing storm, Celine Dell made a startling discovery in the Imperial archives, an ancient transmission from Earth's last days, revealing a hidden truth. Humanity's war was not solely against external enemies but against itself, a final crucible that forged the Continuum's ethos of survival and strength. This war was our genesis, Celine whispered to herself, and soon it will be the galaxy's reckoning. As the council deliberated, an ominous shadow crept across the stars. The ghosts of Earth were stirring, and the balance of power in the galaxy was about to shatter. The chamber aboard the Aegis was tense, a meeting ground for two civilizations whose histories had been written apart for centuries. Captain Varel Ka, the Empire's envoy, faced Dr. Sarah Juno, leader of the Continuum. Between them, holographic projections of star systems and data streams shimmered, a fragile bridge between understanding and suspicion. Varel's posture was formal, but beneath his calm exterior, a storm brewed. He had been handpicked for this mission, a diplomat trained in both persuasion and subtle intimidation. The Empire's edict was clear: secure an alliance or, failing that, prepare for war. Dr. Juno, Varel began, voice steady but firm. The Empire extends an offer. Join us. Share your knowledge, your technology, your people. Together we can bring stability and prosperity to the sector. Sarah regarded him with steady eyes, unyielding. Your offer is cloaked in conquest. We have survived the collapse not by yielding, but by forging a new path, one that does not bow to imperial rule. Varel gestured to the holograms, displaying Continuum tech intertwined with planetary systems. Your technology could revolutionize the Empire's fleets, medicine, infrastructure. This is not subjugation, it is partnership. But at what cost? Sarah's gaze sharpened. The Empire's definition of partnership is control. We have seen what happens when powers seek to dominate rather than collaborate. The Continuum was born from defiance. We will not become a tool for imperial ambition. The room crackled with tension. Imperial officers shifted uneasily. The Continuum elders exchanged glances, silent but resolute. Varel pressed on. Isolation leaves you vulnerable. There are forces in this galaxy that would see the Continuum destroyed or worse, enslaved. Together we could protect each other. Sarah's expression darkened. You speak of protection through domination. The Empire's history is stained with oppression. The Continuum protects itself through unity, innovation, and respect for autonomy. We will not submit. Suddenly, the holographic display flickered. An unauthorized broadcast hijacked the chamber's comms. Live, unfiltered. Across Imperial channels, millions saw the meeting unfold in real time, including the Empire's ruling council and thousands of dissenters. Varel's carefully crafted diplomacy lay bare, the Empire's intentions exposed. A murmur ran through the assembled crowd, while Sarah's words reached ears that had never heard her before. We will not become a tool for imperial ambition. Varel's face tightened. This was not authorized, he hissed, but the damage was done. Back on Virex, Chancellor Merrick Voss watched the feed with a cold fury. Sabotage, he declared. Someone seeks to undermine our position. Find them. Inside the Continuum's city, a young technician named Alara whispered to Sarah, eyes wide. The broadcast. It will stir rebellion across the Empire. There are those who will support us. Sarah nodded, sensing the shifting tides. This is no longer just a negotiation. It is a declaration. Varel knew the path ahead was perilous. The Empire's council would demand swift action. War seemed inevitable. Yet even as he prepared for conflict, Varel found himself haunted by what he had seen. The humans of the Continuum were unlike any foe he had faced. They did not seek annihilation but survival. Their technology was astounding, but their strength lay in their unbreakable unity and profound understanding of life itself. One night, in his private quarters aboard the Aegis, Varel reviewed intercepted Continuum data. The city itself was alive, a fusion of biology and technology working in perfect harmony. He saw the potential for a future where the Empire could learn, adapt, and perhaps even change. But would the Empire's leaders allow such transformation? Meanwhile, whispers of rebellion stirred within the Empire's lower ranks. Discontented officers and marginalized worlds began to see the Continuum not as enemies, but as symbols of hope and resistance. The broadcast had shattered the carefully maintained narrative of Imperial invincibility. Dr. Juno and Varel's meeting ended, not with an alliance, but with an uneasy ceasefire, a fragile pause in the gathering storm. "We will defend our people," Sarah said as Varel took his leave. "But we also seek peace. Know this. The Continuum is not your enemy. It is the future you refuse to accept." Varel nodded, the weight of those words heavy on his shoulders. The Empire had been built on certainty, on dominance. The Continuum challenged that foundation. As the Aegis ascended from Solus 7, the blue glow of the city faded beneath the ice, but the message remained, clear, defiant, and unyielding. The Empire had been offered a choice: embrace change and partnership, or brace for a war unlike any before, and the galaxy waited, breath held, on the edge of reckoning. The silence of Solus 7's subterranean city was broken only by the soft hum of the heart, the living core that pulsed like a heartbeat beneath the ice. But beneath that calm lay restless currents, shadows stirring in the depths. Dr. Sarah Juno paced the command chamber, her mind heavy with the weight of recent events. The broadcast had changed everything. Across the galaxy, whispers of the Continuum had sparked hope and fear in equal measure. The fragile ceasefire with the Empire felt more like a calm before a storm. Reports from the outer tunnels, a technician called out, breaking the tension. "Strange readings. Energy fluctuations unlike anything we've seen. Could be natural or something else." Sarah narrowed her eyes. "Show me." The holographic map shifted to reveal a network of dark corridors extending beyond the known. City limits, areas the Continuum had long avoided. Ancient warnings marked the map, places sealed for millennia, hidden from even the deepest scans. Elder Eric's joined her side, voice low. "Those are the forgotten vaults. Sealed off after the collapse. No one has entered in generations. What lies in those vaults?" Sarah asked, unease creeping into her tone. "Ghosts," Eric said grimly. "Old technologies and memories best left undisturbed. But if the heart senses a disturbance, we must investigate." Sarah assembled a team, engineers, warriors, and scholars, to venture into the vaults. Among them was Corporal Leon Voss, keen-eyed and steady, her loyalty forged in the fires of survival. As the expedition moved deeper, the walls seemed to close in, the air thick with ancient secrets. The team's scanners flickered erratically, struggling to penetrate the dense organic matrix enveloping the vault. Suddenly, an explosion of light burst from the depths. Alarms screamed as ancient machinery stirred, machines with no purpose but destruction. "Containment breach," shouted one engineer. "Shields failing." From the shadows emerged figures, no longer fully human nor fully machine. Entities crafted in the forgotten war, guardians of lost knowledge and terrible power. Their eyes glowed with cold intelligence, their movements precise and deadly. The team opened fire, but their weapons barely scratched the armored forms. Leon rallied the group, signaling retreat. "Fall back. Regroup at the surface." Back in the city, Sarah watched the chaos unfold through remote feeds. The forgotten vaults had awoken a force thought extinct, a remnant of humanity's darkest hours. We must warn the Empire, Sarah declared. If those machines reach the surface, they could threaten everyone. But the message was not sent. Within the city's communication hub, a covert saboteur worked silently, an agent with loyalties unknown, sabotaging transmissions and preparing to tip the balance toward chaos. Far above, aboard the Aegis, Captain Varelka received fragmented reports of the disturbances. The Continuum City was no longer just a political problem. It was becoming a volatile battleground. The Empire's military command debated their response. Strike now before the situation spiraled, or wait and risk losing control? Varel found himself caught between duty and doubt. The Continuum had shown him a vision of coexistence. Now shadows from the past threatened to engulf them all. In a rare moment alone, he accessed secret Imperial archives, forgotten logs from the collapse, detailing the creation of those very machines now reawakened beneath Solus 7. Terran experiments, in biomechanical warfare intended as a last resort against invasion, had spiraled beyond control. The ghosts of Earth, Varel murmured. We've awoken our own nightmares. Meanwhile, within the city's heart, Sarah confronted the council. We cannot fight this alone. If we fall, the Empire and all its worlds will fall with us. Elder Eric's voice was resolute. Then, we must decide. Do we forge a new alliance or prepare for the war that comes with the shadows? Outside the city, the ice trembled, the surface cracking as dormant powers stirred beneath. The forgotten war was no longer history. It was alive, and, in the depths, the ancient machines waited. The frozen surface of Solus 7 cracked open like a wound. Jagged fissures radiated outward as the subterranean battle spilled upward. From the depths, the reawakened machines emerged, towering and merciless, their biomechanical limbs shredding through the ice and rock. The eerie blue glow of their cores pierced the twilight as they advanced toward the city. Inside the Continuum, alarms blared. Dr. Sarah Juno stood firm amid the chaos, coordinating defenses and rallying her people. The city's walls pulsed in. Response: biological sinews tightening like muscles preparing for impact. Hold the line, she commanded, voice carrying through the comms. Every chamber, every corridor, defend our home. But even as the Continuum marshaled its forces, the Aegis fleet had arrived in orbit, shimmering like a watchful predator. Captain Varelka's ship hovered above the turmoil, sensors scanning the battlefield below. Admiral, his communications officer whispered. The enemy's biomechanical units are unlike anything we've faced. Conventional weapons have limited effect. Varel's jaw clenched. He stared at the holographic battlefield, machines ripping through the city's living structures while Continuum defenders fought desperately to stem the tide. Prepare the ion pulse cannons, Varel ordered. We'll hit them with everything we've got. But even as the Aegis unleashed a storm of energy, the machines pressed on. Their advanced technology, born of humanity's last war, defied destruction. The city itself groaned, the heart straining to maintain its life-sustaining rhythm. Amid the turmoil, a shadow moved unseen, a saboteur within the Continuum's ranks. Cloaked in the guise of a trusted technician, Ilara slipped through corridors, severing power conduits and sabotaging defenses. Her motives were unclear. Was she a spy for the Empire? A zealot seeking to accelerate the destruction? Or something else entirely? Sarah caught a glimpse of her in the hallways, a flash of cold determination in her eyes. She ordered a squad to intercept, but Ilara vanished like a ghost. In the midst of the battle, Captain Kira Voss appeared at Sarah's side, battle-hardened and resolute. We need to evacuate the civilians, Kira urged. The heart can only hold for so long. Sarah hesitated. The city was their sanctuary, their legacy. To abandon it was unthinkable, but Kira was right. We'll open the evacuation routes, Sarah agreed. Send the non-combatants to the surface. We must buy time. As the evacuation began, Varel watched the unfolding crisis from orbit, torn between his loyalty to the Empire and the respect he had grown to feel for the Continuum's people. Suddenly, his comms crackled. Admiral, we've detected a rogue transmission. It was a distress signal from Sarah, faint, fragmented, but unmistakably a call for aid beyond the battlefield. Varel made a decision. "Prepare a landing party," he ordered. "We're going." Frozen on the surface, the landing party disembarked into the chaos. Frozen air heavy with the scent of burning ice and bioelectric discharge. They moved quickly, following the signal to the city's core. Inside the heart chamber, Sarah and Kira worked desperately to stabilize the heart, whose pulse was faltering under the relentless assault. "We can't hold much longer," Sarah admitted. "If the heart fails, the entire city will collapse." Varel entered, flanked by armed soldiers. His arrival startled Sarah, but she said nothing. The urgency left no room for suspicion. "We're here to help," Varel said, kneeling beside her console. "Tell me what to do." Together, they activated emergency protocols, rerouting power, reinforcing biomechanical links, and deploying specialized Imperial tech adapted to interface with the city's systems. Slowly, the heart's pulse steadied, but the victory was short-lived. Alara appeared, weapon drawn, blocking the only exit. "End of the line," she said coldly. Varel and Sarah exchanged a glance, then moved as one. A fierce struggle erupted, blaster fire mingling with biomechanical pulses. Alara fought with the skill of a seasoned warrior, but Sarah's intimate knowledge of the city and Varel's tactical precision gave them the edge. Cornered, Alara's resolve faltered. She revealed a hidden truth. She was a continuum dissident, believing that only destruction could cleanse the past and forge a new future. Her sabotage was meant to force the Empire and Continuum into a crucible that would reshape both. "Only through fire can rebirth come," Alara hissed. Sarah's voice was firm. "There is another way. We can choose life, not death." With Alara subdued, the trio focused on a desperate plan, using the Empire's technology combined with the Continuum's living systems to drive back the machines. Outside, the combined forces launched a counterattack. The Aegis's ion pulses and Continuum bioweapons struck in unison, fracturing the mechanical invaders' ranks. The tide turned. As the last of the machines fell, silence returned, heavy and uncertain. Sarah looked to Varel. "This was only the beginning. The ghosts beneath Solus 7 are gone, for now. But the future depends on what comes next." Varel nodded. "Then let's make sure it's a future worth fighting for." Above, the shattered ice slowly began to refreeze, hiding the scars of war beneath a fragile veil. But beneath the surface, new dangers and choices awaited. The reckoning was over. The real war was just beginning. The first light of Solus 7's sun filtered through the icy clouds, casting a pale glow over the battered city. The scars of war etched into the living walls still throbbed faintly, but the heart had stabilized. For the first time in weeks, a fragile calm settled over the Continuum. Dr. Sarah Juno stood on the observation deck watching the horizon. Around her, the city buzzed with renewed purpose. Engineers repairing biostructures, scientists analyzing salvaged tech, and citizens emerging from shelters to reclaim their home. Beside her, Captain Kira Voss surveyed the scene, her expression thoughtful. "We survived," Kira said softly. "But at what cost?" Sarah nodded. "Too many lives lost, but we learned something vital. We're stronger when we face the darkness together." Below, the Imperial fleet remained in orbit, a silent presence that no longer felt quite so threatening. Captain Varel Ka moved through the corridors of the Aegis, attending to diplomatic cables and strategic reports. The battle had changed his perspective, reshaped the man who once saw the Continuum only as a prize or threat. Now, he saw a people, fiercely independent, resilient, and fiercely human. A message arrived, a summons from Chancellor Merrick Voss. The Empire demands an answer. Will the Continuum join the Empire or stand apart? Varel hesitated, then drafted a reply in consultation. "With Sarah and the Continuum Council, we seek not to be conquered nor divided. We offer partnership, mutual respect, shared knowledge, and collective defense. The past is a shadow. The future is a choice." Back on Virex, Chancellor Voss read the reply with a mixture of disdain and caution. The council was divided, some eager to accept a tentative alliance for the Empire's gain, others wary of empowering a civilization that had defied imperial control for centuries. An accord, Counselor Yalik said, but one tempered with vigilance. The Continuum's victory over the ancient machines had forged a new reality, one in which old enemies might become reluctant allies. Sarah convened the council. The war beneath our feet was a warning. There are forces, ancient and new, that threaten us all. We cannot rebuild in isolation. She turned to Kira. The Empire's offer is an opportunity, but we must set terms that protect our sovereignty. Kira added, and ensure that the mistakes of the past, abandonment, subjugation, are never repeated. Together, they drafted a treaty outlining cooperation without domination, a partnership that acknowledged the Continuum's autonomy and the Empire's strategic interests. As negotiations unfolded, a new challenge arose. Deep beneath Solus 7, sensors detected unusual activity, the faint echo of something ancient awakening once more. Sarah's voice was steady but grave. The heart will guide us, but we must prepare. The future demands vigilance, unity, and courage. Outside the city, children played among the healing ice fields, their laughter a fragile promise. The Continuum had endured the collapse in the Empire's shadow. Now, as dawn broke, they faced a future uncertain but unbroken. In the distance, the Aegis shone like a beacon, a symbol of hope and a reminder that even in the vast darkness of space, humanity's spark could endure, evolve, and rise. The council chamber of the Continuum was filled with a hush as delegates from both the Continuum and the Empire gathered to sign the treaty, a symbol of fragile peace, born from fire and blood. Dr. Sarah Juno stood at the front, the weight of centuries pressing on her shoulders, yet her gaze was steady, her resolve unshaken. Across from her, Captain Varel Ka represented the Empire, not as a conqueror, but as a partner. Around them the tension of history hung thick, but beneath it lay a shared desire, to forge a future together, despite the shadows that lingered. The treaty was more than words. It was a promise. To respect autonomy, to share knowledge, to defend against threats that neither side could face alone. It was a new dawn, but one born from the ashes of forgotten wars. As the final signatures were etched, a silent signal pulsed through the city's heart, a gentle, rhythmic beat like a renewed heartbeat. The living city breathed with hope, its people united. Later, in the quiet of her quarters, Sarah reflected on how far they had come. The collapse had scattered humanity like seeds on a barren wind. The Continuum had grown from defiance, from survival against impossible odds. Now they stood on the cusp of something new, a civilization reborn through cooperation. Yet, the past still whispered. Deep within the sealed vaults beneath Solus 7, hidden archives recorded the forgotten war, terrible experiments and sacrifices made in desperation. The machines that had risen were relics of fear, but their legacy was a warning. Progress without conscience could become a monster. Virel, visiting the archives with Sarah, traced his fingers over ancient holographic records. "We thought we left those ghosts behind," he said quietly, "but they never truly died." Sarah nodded. "Our greatest enemy is not the Empire or even these machines, it is forgetting. Forgetting who we are and what we've endured." Outside the city, life began to bloom anew. The biostructures repaired. Technology evolved hand in hand with nature. Children ran through the gleaming streets, unaware of the battles fought beneath their feet. Captain Kira Voss stood overlooking the horizon, her thoughts on the future. "We've made enemies, allies, and something in between. This peace, it's fragile." Sarah joined her, voice steady. "Peace always is, but it's a beginning, a chance to write our own story." From orbit, the Aegis watched silently as the Continuum city thrived. Varel prepared a report for the Empire, urging restraint and cooperation. The Council would listen, if only to avoid another war born from fear. In the end, Humanity's legacy was neither lost nor forgotten. It lived in the unity forged between once divided worlds, in the strength found through understanding, and in the courage to face the darkness together. The stars stretched vast and indifferent above, but for the first time in millennia, humanity looked up not as scattered remnants but as a rising force, resilient, hopeful, and united. The Empire had discovered humans alive, thriving within a lost civilization, and in doing so, they found a future worth fighting for.